Baruch Hashem, you're a bad Jew.
Shalom.
Exciting news, this episode is sponsored by Jewish Big Brothers and Big Sisters of LA. Check it out.
So when I hear that people are interested in signing up to be a big, I just want to go give them a hug and tell them it's the best choice you'll ever make. It's the best way to make an impact and to be with someone and trust the process. Know that Jewish Big Brothers, Big Sisters puts it together in a way that it makes an impact for everybody. And that connection for me is everything.
If I had to choose one word of what it was like to have a big, it would be awesome.
Just do it. Sign up for it. Everything that you're going to do is going to be more than you can imagine.
If you want to make an impact on a child's life, Big Brothers and Big Sisters of LA is accepting applications today. Go to jbbbsla.org. That is jbbbsla.org. Hey, come on in to another episode of Bad Jew, the place where there is no such thing as a bad Jew. With me today is Cari Uslan. Cari, welcome to the podcast. I'm so excited to be partnering with your amazing organization. If I could just get a quick few words about your organization and yourself, that'd be amazing.
Yeah. Well, thanks for having me, Chaz. I'm proud to be the CEO of Jewish Big Brothers, Big Sisters of Los Angeles. And we've been in existence for over 100 years, helping Jewish youth and the broader community in Los Angeles have a better future.
I think that's really inspiring. It's really amazing. And now we get the opportunity to learn about you. It's the rite of entry into the podcast. It's the 4-minute Bad Jew Challenge where you have to tell your life story in 4 minutes. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
I know you are. It's time to yellow.
So I grew up in a Reform Jewish household in the suburbs of Los Angeles, out in Westlake Village, Agora Hills area. And when I was a kid, my parents belonged to a temple, sent us to religious school. And one day we came home and said, we don't like Sunday school and we don't want to go anymore. And my dad said, that's it. I will never force my children to go do something that they don't like. And so we kind of dropped out of Jewish life. We celebrated Hanukkah and, talked about the holidays, but we weren't really involved. And then when I was a preteen, I went to a bar mitzvah. And I was so inspired that my friend was leading the service and reading from the Torah. And I told my parents I wanted to have a bat mitzvah. And I think they thought I just wanted the party, but I was like, no, I'll skip the party. I want to learn how to read Hebrew. I want to do that. And so we rejoined the temple and I got a special tutor so that I could be ready within a year. And ever since that moment, I just felt like I chose to be Jewish and I chose to engage with my tradition and my heritage. And really, I brought my family with me because my dad then became the temple president and my mom got involved with the sisterhood and my mom had an adult bat mitzvah. And, it was just a really incredible thing. And so Judaism has always, since that moment, kind of played a central place in my life. Whether I've been observant or not observant, reform, learned about other aspects of our tradition, it's just been important to me to be connected to the religion. And I think that sort of come out in the trajectory of my employment as well. So I started out as an executive director of a synagogue, kind of fell into that job. And and then I moved away from Jewish tradition. My husband and I moved to Minnesota, and there wasn't really an opportunity to get engaged in Jewish life in terms of work. But when we came back to LA, I really chose that I wanted to work in the Jewish community. And so that's one of the reasons I'm just really proud to be here at Jewish Big Brothers, Big Sisters and leading such an important organization in our community.
Awesome. Cari, you nailed it. You killed it. And also, I got to say, I think just like having that Jewish connection through and through is such a strong, powerful thing. By the way, I don't want this edited out. I want to make this known that during the 4-minute Bad Jew Challenge, I think Cari knows it too. Rob, who also is like the PR for the company, is in the background. He's probably laughing his tushy off right now. I dropped my timer mid 4-minute speech. I had to just play it off cool. I don't even know if you will be able to hear the thud in post production, but it's like, yeah, that was silly. Okay, so thank you for letting the show go on. The show must go on. You're a big theater person, so I respect that. If you're not on YouTube, you can see behind her are a bunch of posters for shows. Just out of curiosity, what's your favorite show?
Oh, my favorite show is probably The King and I. It's
Oh,
one of those traditional shows that I really enjoy.
charming. It's a really sweet show. I love that
Yeah.
show.
Yeah.
Love that. Love that. I'm personally a big fan of Les Mis. That was actually the last musical I did in high school. I was in
Oh,
a
fun.
lot of high school theater back in the day.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, big musical person. I love talking to musical theater people.
Yeah.
Okay. So, let's get to the podcast. So here's the thing. As a Jew, it's very easy to feel isolated. As a Jew, it's very easy to kind of navigate the Jewish world or just life in general, completely isolated from other people. And the one thing I've noticed about Jews in particular is that between other non-Jews and Jews, we don't have the same life journey. And the main reason why is because with a non-Jew, they just have a life journey. Maybe they pursue their own religions, their own beliefs, their own creeds, whatever, and they have a journey in that as well. But because we're an ethno religion, because our heritage is so deeply ingrained in who we are and over a 3,000-year tradition, our life journey is not just a life journey. We can't really escape our Jewish identity. Even if you convert, you can't escape it. So thus, our life journey is really just a Jewish journey. It's synonymous with each other. But being said, you have to navigate that, and you have to have people there to guide you every step of the way, aka a mentor. And a mentor can mean a lot of different things. A mentor can come in the form of a teacher, a rabbi, your your nearby neighbor, someone you study with regularly, someone that you might teach if you're a teacher. So then that being said, Cari, why do we need a mentor in our lives as a Jewish person?
Yeah, I mean, I think having a mentor really expands your worldview. It just opens your eyes to things that you may not be thinking about. I think, as adults, when we look back on our life to the point we're at, we will recognize that there were mentors along the way, like you said, teachers, coaches, neighbors who helped us make different decisions, choose different paths, be more successful, whether it was in school or work or whatever we were doing. And those mentors are really impactful. And I think sometimes we forget how important a mentor is. And so for Jewish Big Brothers, Big Sisters, we were founded on this idea that children, for the most part, who are missing a parent in their home. So, a single parent household where maybe one parent is no longer in the home, either due to divorce or sometimes death and loss, that those children really need an additional adult to help them have a better future. And so that's kind of the premise that started the organization, but it's really grown beyond that as well. While we still serve a lot of, children in single parent households, there are a lot of other circumstances where a child could benefit from a mentor. And in our case, we believe really strongly that Jewish children benefit from a Jewish mentor because it helps them, as you were talking about, on that Jewish journey of life. And, just especially right now, the Jewish community is reeling from the news post October 7th, everything that's happening with the rise of anti-Semitism. And we as Jews are feeling grief and sorrow and anger and frustration and lots of emotions that when you're a child, you're not really quite sure how to handle. And having a Jewish mentor just talk with you or just listen or just be there and show up when you need them can make all the difference in the future that you have.
I can definitely see that. I think that's brought up some great points that I think really resonate with the audience. Here's what I'll say as well is that with a soul family, this is really relevant to me as well because I'm an only child, right? It's just me and my parent. And I'm not just an only child, but I'm an only child in a small family. So like literally, my aunt, who isn't particularly involved in the family, lives in Topanga Canyon. We're based in LA, or Los Angeles County, I guess you could say, or Ventura County, right? We're particularly small. So having outside influences is really prevalent. What kind of results have you seen from children who have, I'm just going to go with the term, a basic nuclear family? What kind of results have you seen from children who just need that exterior guidance in life?
Yeah, I mean, so many things. I've seen kids who weren't planning to go to college decide to apply to college because their mentor really encouraged them. I've seen kids start showing up at school. Maybe they weren't going to school regularly because they just didn't want to, or they didn't feel like they fit in. And their mentor helped give them that confidence to just show up and be present. I mean, I've also seen kids just look at the world differently and be exposed to new food, new experiences, new opportunities that they didn't know existed. So I think it's really pretty moving when you hear the stories of the kids. And, we particularly hear them when the kids are a little bit older. Sometimes an 8 or 9-year-old can't tell you what the meaning is in having a mentor, but an 18-year-old can reflect back and talk about the difference it made. And one of the things that we hear over and over is it's not so much what we did, what the big did with the little, and that's what we call our mentors. Um, it's just the fact that they showed up and they didn't have to, because our mentors are volunteers. They don't have to show up twice a month. In terms of how the kid views it, the kid doesn't, this isn't a parent or a teacher or someone who's obligated to be there. It's someone who's choosing to be there. And that makes a huge difference for a child to feel like they're important enough that someone chooses to show up for them.
I'm actually very curious because you planted an idea for something you just said, and that is talking about age ranges of mentorship, right? So I want to approach that for a second because you said, like, I wonder, especially with a pre-October 7th world and a post-October 7th world, if you were answering this in a pre-October 7th world, what would you say would be the age that someone is mature enough to have a mentor?
So you mean for the kids, like how
Yeah.
old?
On a
Well,
hypothetical. Yeah.
yeah. So, I mean, the majority of the kids are usually kind of middle school, high school, but we provide mentors to kids as early as age 6. So it's really
Wow.
6 to kind of 18 that is the age of the kids. And really that's because, like we talked about, a kid in a single parent household, it doesn't matter if they're 6 or 16, they need that additional support. And I think what we provide as an organization that helps it work is we have professionals here that support the relationship and will help the mentor know what types of things to do with a 6-year-old versus a 16-year-old, right? Because they're going to have different interests, different types of things that you do as your outings and engagement, and different questions that come up from preteens and teens. And mentors need a little training on how to navigate some of those challenging questions that come up.
Sure. So then, whether or not it's a post-October 7th world, does that actually impact the age range of the mentorship?
Yeah, I don't think so. I think, and actually, we've seen, from the folks who volunteer to be bigs as well, we've seen more young people kind of stepping up and saying, I want to give back and I want to give back to the Jewish community post
Wow.
October 7th.
Wow.
And I think that's really inspiring to see that and hear that. I think, we all feel that inertia we want to do something. We want to make things better. And this is really a way that you can make things better and, change the future by changing one life.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. So what is then the value of focusing, even on one life, like, is it even worth creating an organization like this in a different location? Los Angeles is an easy target because there's Jews here, right?
Right.
There are Jews in LA. I think we account for 1% of the population. But let's say you went to somewhere like, I don't know, Kansas, where there might be one Jew in the entire state, right? Is it even worth creating an organization and putting in so much effort for just one individual person?
Well, I mean, I think that it is. I think, our Jewish tradition teaches us, of course, it's talking about saving a life, but that when you save one life, you save the entire world. And while this is not necessarily saving a life, I would certainly argue that it's changing a life for the better. And that is really important and really impactful. Now, Jewish Big Brothers Big Sisters is part of a national Big Brother Big Sister network, which is really remarkable. So there are Big Brother Big Sister programs
Mhm.
all across the country. Not all of them are specifically Jewish, and certainly I think the Jewish component is a really key and important aspect of what we do and what we bring to the Los Angeles community.
Makes a lot of sense. And I love the idea of like the saving a life is like saving the world. For you personally, what is the drive? Why do you personally care about saving one particular life at minimum?
Yeah, I mean, I think that for me, when I hear the kids talk about the difference that this program and this organization made in their life, like I get emotional. I feel such a sense of pride that I had a piece in helping make that happen. Um, and I try to remind myself of that, right? Like my job as the CEO, sometimes I'm dealing with paperwork and financial challenges and things that are not as inspiring. And I try to take a step back in those moments and remind myself that I'm here for the kids. And it's the kids who are the future generation, our future Jewish leaders. And we need to provide them with mentorship, with opportunities that give them a step up in their future path.
Sure, sure. Okay, that's amazing. So let me ask you this then. Growing up, who was your non-familial big brother or big sister?
Yeah, I think the first one for sure was the tutor that I had that helped me prepare for my bat mitzvah. I met with her every week, and she was just so committed and dedicated to me. And I think also, like, because of that relationship that we developed, I became so, like, extra committed to this journey to my bat mitzvah. I kind of went above and beyond, at least at my temple. There was a specific amount of the Torah portion that you had to read. And I was like, well, I can do more than that. And, there were lots of opportunities where I kind of like said, I want to do more. And I don't think I would have done that without the mentorship of a tutor who believed in me because it was hard. And I was only 12. I wasn't, a grown up. And it was really an opportunity where she said, you can do this and I'm going to help you get there. And then I did succeed. And so that's sort of been something that's kind of carried throughout my life. This like idea of setting a goal, working towards it, sometimes finding a mentor to help you along the way or a partner, and then achieving the goal.
Okay. Yeah. No, it's a sweet message. And I love that you had that mentor in your life to help you with guiding that. And it was a good bar mitzvah, by the way, you never said.
It was. It was a lovely bar mitzvah. Yes.
And what was your Torah portion? Do you remember?
It was Genesis.
Okay.
Bereshit. Yeah.
Okay.
Bereshit. So
Good stuff.
yeah.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was a good one.
Awesome. Good stuff. Okay.
Yeah.
So this is all amazing. This is all nice and fun and fluffy and whatnot. But let me ask you this, right? How do you know if you're ready to be a mentor? And isn't there a wrong way to also be a mentor? Like, isn't there a way that you can totally ruin someone's life as a mentor as well? How do you know when you're feeding the right stuff to your kid versus when you just accidentally just ruin their life?
Well, I think it's really about showing up for the right reasons. So if you as a young adult or even, a middle-aged or older adult have the time and interest in being a mentor to a child, we kind of take you through a process. So it's not like you sign up and the next day we hand over a child. There's a whole process of vetting you as a potential mentor to make sure that you understand the commitment, you are in it for the right reasons, and also that we do a full background check to make sure that you're a safe adult to be with a child. Um, and then we do training as well. So we really set you up for success. And then we have professional support every month for the whole first year of the mentoring relationship. So we're always here when you're like, oh, I think I messed up on Sunday. I took my little to the Dodger game and he asked me this question and I said this. And we can help you walk it back, right? Maybe not in the moment because we're not sitting at the game with you, but we can help you navigate how to let the parent know, how to have a conversation and kind of walk back things if necessary.
Mhm.
So there is that professional support, which I think makes a huge difference. Um, but I think if you want to give back, if you say, I just want to have fun and show a kid what's possible in Los Angeles, that's the right reason. You don't have to know more than that. I think sometimes people think like to be a mentor, that it's this big title and you have to know stuff and be important and knowledgeable. You really just have to show up and be a friend for the most part. It's not as hard as I think sometimes people make it out to be in their mind.
For me, someone who's an overthinker, the concept of being a mentor seems like so much more than just someone who shows up. But I also understand where you're coming from in the sense that you have to just simply be present and be available. I would think in my mind, okay, maybe today I have to show up with a lesson plan, with one activity, and be really prepared to answer any life's questions on the spot. Like you're kind of a mini rabbi in a way, or a rebbitzin, or however you want to identify. It's in a lot of ways like you're there to guide in someone's life. So it seems like you carry on a lot, and it just to say just to show up, it like to me like like if I were to take on a little brother or a little sister today, I would feel like it would be a lot more than just showing up. But I think at the set inherently, you're right.
Yeah, I think that the other thing that we do is, of course, we match you as a big with a little where you have a lot in common already. So if you're really into sports, we're going to match you with a child who has an interest in sports. So you're going to have natural things that you're going to build your relationship off of, things that you already enjoy together. And that makes it easier because really you're building a friendship. And that friendship becomes a mentorship over time, but it starts out as just two people getting to know each other and becoming friends.
Mhm.
And I think when you think about it that way, it isn't so overwhelming that you think you need a lesson plan when you show up, because that's not the goal, right? The goal isn't, take this child to learn these 5 things. You don't need to teach them those 5 things. You're going to be teaching them things just because you're a grown up and they're a child.
I like
And
that.
you won't even know that you're teaching them things, but you will be.
I like that a lot. So let me ask you this then. Going back to the post October 7th world,
Yeah.
is it easier to find mentees that need help in a post October 7th world or mentors in the post October 7th world?
I think right now it's actually a little bit easier to find mentors because, like I said, young people and others are stepping up and saying, I want to help in the Jewish community. And I think that parents of children are afraid and they are keeping their family close and they're not necessarily reaching out and saying, hey, I need a mentor for my child because they're kind of hunkering down a little bit. And I think we want to certainly remind parents that we're an added support. We're a plus to the family. And we want parents to feel like when they need an extra hand or they need an extra caring adult in their child's life, that they think of Jewish big brothers, big sisters, and they give us a call.
Love that. In the grand scheme of Jewish values and even, dare I say, Torah, I guess, like, where does mentorship really find relevance in that narrative, do you think?
I mean, for me, I think it's really in Gimilut Hasadim, the acts of loving kindness, and maybe a little bit about, tzedakah and giving back, but this is giving of time. Mentors, they show up and they give their time twice a month for at least a year, some beyond a year. It's a lot of time and effort to give back to the community, to give back to a child and their family. And I think that there's a lot of meaning that comes from that. I hear from our mentors all the time that they got so much more out of it than they gave, and that they got more out of it than they think the child did.
Mhm.
They aren't always right, but that's their feeling. Our bigs walk away with this sense of, wow, I did something really positive in the world and in this child's life. And that's what makes the system work and makes it meaningful on all sides.
That's amazing. That's really, really amazing. Well, Cari, I want to thank you for all the resources that you've provided with, Jewish big brothers and big sisters in Los Angeles. I think it's really amazing. I know there's multiple branches out there. And if there's one in your local area, to the listeners out there, if there's one in your local area, please do give it a try. See if it's right for you. Apply for it. I guarantee that you'd receive an incredible mentor. And also, I imagine that you'd also, if you're a mentee and you're looking for someone to guide you in life, this is a great program. Also, before I even get there, is there programs for someone who are like young adults as well?
So the mentees are all children. So they're all age 6 to age 18. But the mentors are 21 and over. So if you're over 21, you can be a mentor, and I guarantee you'll get just as much out of it as you would if you're a child in the program.
Amazing. What's the best way for people to get in touch and started today?
Yeah, just go to our website, which I know Chaz has at the bottom of the screen. But for those just listening, it's jbbbsla.org. And you can sign up online for an info session, read more about us, and get involved today.
jbbbsla.org. I love it. It's just like, it's a fun acronym. You can't not laugh when saying the acronym. JBBB. No, I said it too many times. jbbbsla.org. Boom. Nailed it.
Yeah. Did. It's those 3 B's that can really hang you up.
jbbbsla.org. There we go. That sounded clean. That was good.
Yeah.
Cari, it's been a treat to have you on the podcast. Thank you. And I'm so excited to be partnering with you guys to be helping people get the mentorship they need to go throughout this journey, to pursue this life, to understand who they are, and to get in touch with the world around them, to know how to navigate it. It's an incredible mitzvah that you guys are doing. I'm really excited to continue to learn about your organization and to continue to work with your organization. And to the listeners, if you're interested in being a part of it, go to jbbbsla.org or reach out directly here and I'll send you resources. Thank you again. And to the listeners, we'll see you next Wednesday on the next episode of Bad Jew.
Thanks so much, Chaz. It was great being here.
Shalom.